a tale, let it be told. On the lip of Macola roundabout, where trotro horns argue with frying oil and news vendors sell yesterday louder than today, a woman in a sunflower head wrap slipped between tables like a blessing learning to walk. In her left hand, a tray stacked with glass cups that clinked like cousins. In her right, a kettle that breathed tea the way an auntie breathes advice. Hot, helpful, uninvited but necessary. A man in a plain cotton shirt, no logo, watch cheap enough to be suspicious, sat by the window pretending to read the menu. He watched her steady a quarrel with one sentence and a spoon. "Brother," she said to a mason whose temper wanted to be hired for demolition, "stew tastes different when you wait for it." She dipped the spoon, blew, tasted, nodded, and handed him water first. The quarrel exhaled. Across the street, a billboard tried to sell a bank by spelling trust in capital letters. The man by the window smiled without his mouth. There he had bought bigger billboards. He knew letters were cheaper than trust. A dented hubcap nailed above the chopped bar doorway coughed once like an old gavel. Watch the woman, watch the spoon, watch the thing money cannot command. Last planting season, the papers whispered about a shipping and tech magnate who had vanished from the front pages to think. His empire, ports, fibers, fintech had taught him how to move boxes and numbers across maps, but not how to move hearts across suspicion. His name was Kojo Sarpong, child of a fisherman who taught him tides, graduate of a university that taught him interest, employer of thousands who taught him complaints. He had returned incognito to Amanfo, a city that speaks in markets, to listen for a different syllabus. The woman with the spoon was Ama Serwa, waitress at the Palm and Pepper, a narrow-bellied chop bar that served beans like comfort and fish like apology. Among regulars, she was known for the 7 gestures. Greet, name, water, listen, portion, receipt of dignity, return. On her apron pocket, stitched by her own hand, a small phrase in thread. Eat. Pay what you can. Return when you can. Today, plants would learn what rain cannot buy, and rain would learn what plants will share without invoice. If this tale draws up a chair at your table, let it not eat alone. Like to keep the hubcap drum loud. Share with one person who's ever been fed beyond money, and comment with your City Plus current time so the next part finds your market before pride raises prices. Listener, pull your stool closer. Story likes warm knees. The Palm and Pepper sits where a lane forgets it's a lane and becomes a conversation. 2 women fry kelewele on one side. On the other, a boy sharpens knives and jokes. Inside, the air is a mixture you can live on. Onions, pepper, boiled beans, and the polite sweat of people who know hunger but do not worship it. Ama Serwa wore her sunflower head wrap like a small son had chosen her head as a neighborhood. Her apron had a pocket heavy with pencils and receipts pre-printed with a sentence. If your purse is thin today, sign your name and your promise. Return when you can. The stew believes you. Above the till sat a clay pot with a cracked lip, labeled in block letters, rainy pot. Regulars slid coins into it with the reverence some reserved for offertory plates. Coins make thin music. This pot had been rehearsing a chorus for years. Kojo took in details the way boatmen take in sky before launching. Quietly, as if asking permission, he saw a poster hand-drawn by a child. Thursday, pay what you can, beans and gari. He noticed a chalkboard. Wall of names. People we believe. He read K-Adu, 3 bows. Sul, 2 soups. Ajo Mensa, 1 kenki. Beside each, a return date written not as a threat, but as a hope with a pencil. At 11, a bus coughed students onto the pavement, their uniforms carrying chalk dust and ambition in equal measure. They had come from New Horizons Secondary for a debate at the municipal hall. Their teacher had miscounted coins. Hunger had not miscounted stomachs. They hovered at the doorway the way honesty hovers at a rich man's gate, hesitant, hopeful, ready to leave if scolded. Amma saw them. Gesture 1, greet. Welcome, debaters. The road must be proud of your shoes. She did not ask for money. Gesture 2, name. Who leads? A thin boy with shoulders plotting to be broad raised his hand. Y'all, he said. Welcome, y'all. Gesture 3, water. She set jugs and tin cups on their table before the word bill could haunt their tongues. Gesture 4, listen. The teacher confessed their arithmetic. We planned for 20 bowls. We have money for 15. We can shrink portions. Amma shook her head. Do not teach children to shrink before they speak. She pulled the rainy pot, tilted it. Coins rattled like polite rain. The city already paid for your difference before you came. She lifted a ladle like a sentence and began to serve. Gesture 5. Portion. Each bowl received beans, a shade more than enough, and onions that could take a long argument and make it edible. Oh, at a corner table, a mason named Mensapah grumbled, Auntie, your charity will make thieves of children. Amma turned, not with anger, with math. She pointed at the wall of names. Where you see charity, I see credit. Do complain when cement goes on tick. The wall holds our tick. The mason looked away because truth had borrowed his eyes without asking. Kojo took a sip of tea that tasted like honesty and old leaves. He reached for his pocket out of habit and felt the smooth tyranny of his checkbook. He let it rest. He watched the waitress conduct a small economy. A scuffle outside tugged the room's attention. A fisherman, Quay, staggered and smelling of sea and hard nights. He slapped a crumpled IOU on the counter. Auntie, add 2. My boat is sulking, my stomach will not. His hands trembled with the insistence of a man whose appetites had started a family with his grief. Before Amma could answer, a foreman barged in with a helmet under his arm and impatience under his tongue. Madam, your boy there owes me 50 sadies for sand. If he can eat, he can pay. He jutted his chin at Quay as if chin were proof of ownership. Amma's hand went to the spoon. She held it like a conductor lifting a baton, not a warrior lifting a blade. Gesture 6. Receipt of dignity. She slid a paper between the men, a shared burden slip. We divide the weight, she said. 20 today from the rainy pot to you, foreman. Signed, the room. 10 from Quay next market day. The last 20 from the wall of names. 1 CD from 20 friends. She raised her voice. Who will lend 1 CD to the future? A teacher put down her chalky purse. A driver added a coin. The mason, after losing a small private fight, added 2. Even Kojo, anonymous under his cheap watch, palmed a coin and added it as if feeding a bird that must not learn to fear hands. The foreman, not used to debts being wrapped in community paper, blinked. So if they fail, he asked, because failure is a habit that wants company. Then we carry again, Amma said simply. Some loads require 2 market days to become light. She stamped the slip with a red ochre mark, a homemade seal the community had learned to respect because soups refused to cook for liars. She tore 3 copies, 1 for each man and 1 for the pot, and the room exhaled as if someone had opened a window inside their ribs. Kojo's fingers itched. He could end this poverty theater with 1 signature. He knew shortcuts. He was made of them. But shortcuts move feet, they do not move understanding. He stayed seated. The rush came. Drivers, tailors, an auntie who trafficked in news, a girl balancing bananas like futures. Amma kept the room in tune, names remembered, apologies accepted, extra plantain landing where the morning had misbehaved. When someone asked for discount, she handed a rag instead. Wipe your table well, she said, and keep your discount in the future. People laughed and worked. Laughter is also a currency and it spends well. Then the lights blinked. The fan sighed. The fridge muttered a curse borrowed from fishermen. Power had stepped out to gossip with clouds. Panic tried to enter. Amma said no. She lit 2 lanterns and moved them like commas through the room, slowing sentences, making meaning stick to words. She opened the window, the market scent in breeze and the smell of mango. She checked the soup with a spoon of government, tilted the pot so the last ladles wouldn't burn, and lifted the rainy pot again. Friends, she called, if your purse ate breakfast, pay now. If your purse is fasting, sign your name. We'll sign our belief beside it. The wall of names received fresh ink like a garden receives rain. A man in a pressed shirt, bank officer Osei, who loved his tie as if it were original sin, stood. This is unsustainable, he declared. Debts encourage laziness. From the window, Auntie Ajo, who washed beans for the bar every morning, leaned in. Come and wash beans with me 4 dawns, she said sweetly, and then teach us to stain with your tie. The room laughed without cruelty, which is the best kind. Osei sat, discovered humility under his chair, and ate it with his beans. Just then a boy, Kwaku, a shoe shine with dreams larger than his brush, slipped on palm oil, tray flying, cup shattering as if punctuation had resigned. Silence raised his finger to count the cost. Fear wrote a quick invoice in the boy's stomach. Amma moved before the invoice reached court. She placed a hand on his shoulder, steady, and knelt to gather shards. "This is how we pay," she announced. "Shards are lessons. We budget for lessons." She dropped coins from the rainy pot into a dish and added 2 from her pocket. "The boy will repay with sweeping and a song on Saturday. The song may be off key. The sweeping must not." Agreed? The room agreed, relieved to have something to do besides judge. Kwaku's eyes filled with the water cups had failed to deliver. He bowed so low his dreams nearly touched the floor and might have picked up more ambition there. By afternoon, Rain rehearsed then performed. The roof of the Palm and Pepper has known drums. It joined the band. People stayed, not because the stew chained them, but because the room had started to behave like family. Amma moved with her 7 gestures, like a dancer who taught her feet the choreography of compassion. Kojo finished his tea, which had never been about tea. He left a bill under his saucer, the appropriate ritual, and something heavier under the table, a note folded around a phone number, for repairs for nothing else. He did not sign more. The room had been signing all day. He stepped into the rain that felt like a city washing its own face and promised himself to return quietly. Outside, the hubcap tapped twice, which is how it says, "The stew has learned a new proverb, and so have you. A tale, let it be told." 2 mornings later, when the sun wore a hat but not manners, Kojo returned in his plain shirt. He had sent a carpenter at dawn to fix the wobbling bench and the tilting shelf. The carpenter, Amadeta, had sanded the bench until it remembered what straight felt like. On the backrest, she carved deep so Rain could not file it away. "Eat, pay what you can. Return when you can." Kojo found Amasewa writing names on the chalkboard with a stub so small even chalk begged for mercy. He placed a check on the counter, one that could teach most problems to spell yesterday. "For you," he said, "to settle the wall of names, and to expand, and to breathe." She looked at the check the way midwives look at first cries, grateful, suspicious of what comes next. "Thank you," she said, voice measuring each syllable. "We will use this to fix roof, fridge, and to seed the rainy pot when it forgets to rain. But I will not use it to erase the wall of names." Kojo blinked. Rich men are used to erasing. It feels like magic that leaves their signatures. "Why?" "Because those names are not debts. They are bridges," she said. "When I forgive quietly without walking to each house to listen, I steal my own education. When they pay quietly without returning, they steal their dignity. We will visit. We will hear why hunger took their coins hostage. We will choose new dates that respect truth." Kojo's eyebrows remembered humility. "You have time." She smiled with only one side of her mouth. Busy mouths ration smiles. "I have the ledger of time." She lifted a book with soft corners, inside columns. Hours given, by whom, to whom, for what, how it tasted. Yesterday, Mensa Pa gave 2 hours to carry water for Auntie Ajo because her knee told the truth at the wrong time. Sul fixed a window for Kwaku's mother. We record what money would have done and what mouths did instead. She tapped a page labeled Thursdays. We do pay what you can day, because some weeks money goes to funerals and school fees and forgets to come back before beans look at a door. Kojo laughed softly. "Your book is a bank, it just speaks human." "Banks speak human only when they sneeze," Auntie Ajo announced from the doorway, carrying beans that had met water before sunrise. "This book speaks when pots are empty and egos are full." Kojo folded the check once, not to hide it, but to fit it into the story's pocket. "What gift can I bring that won't buy what should not be bought?" Amma wiped her hands, tied her head wrap tighter, the way women do when words are about to lift weights. "Bring us cold that stays," she said, pointing at the sulking fridge. "Meat deserves mercy. Bring us light that ignores politicians." She gestured at a solar panel brochure curling from someone's pocket like a shy plant. "Bring us training for Kwaku and y'all. Not just how to sweep, but how to price their labor without apologizing. And bring us a room in the back called listening, where people can cry without paying first." Kojo felt the unusual pleasure of being told what money can serve, not what it can solve. He noted each line like a student responsible for real homework. "Done," he said carefully, which from a man like him meant soon without fanfare. Before he could leave, Trouble tested the mat the way goats test fences. A council tax officer, Mr. Tedder, entered with a folder and a forehead that had never met laughter. "Madam," he declared, "you are in arrears for your signage fee. Also, your permit for sidewalk seating expired." He held his folder like a machete in a farm that had already been weeded by conversation. Ama motioned him to a seat, the chair that humbles paperwork. Gesture 1, greet. "Welcome, Mr. Tedder. Water?" He refused with the primness of a man who believes thirst is unprofessional. Gesture 4, listen. She waited. He lined up his pages like soldiers falling in. She produced her permit receipts, stamped by a clerk who uses ink to compensate for small kindnesses. "This one is paid," she said. "This one died without telling the database." She slid forward a stop of embarrassment note she had drawn for city encounters. Modeled after stop receipts, it read, "If a citizen is right, officers shall apologize in a sentence that uses the word sorry at least once." The room grinned. The officer read the card as if it might explode, then cleared his throat into respect. "Apologies," he said, tasting the word like pepper soup on a sore day. "The system is not your mother," Auntie Adjo chirped, "so do not hide behind it." He smiled despite himself. "Apologies, I will update the record." He looked at the rainy pot, curious despite training. "And this pays for lessons," Amma said. "Shards, power cuts, bad days, children." He nodded. "I have children," he admitted, and signed a note that said, "In civil service, what men say in church when they mean it, waived late fee due to system error." Kojo watched a tiny rebuild of state occur over beans. He had influenced cabinets with dinners. He had rarely seen governors eat humble stew at noon without a press release. He found himself full before food arrived. At 11, a young woman in grease-stained overalls appeared, Zainab, an apprentice mechanic whose boss loved engines more than apprentices. Her eyes held a leak she could not fix with a wrench. "Auntie," she said, "the shop says no salary this month because customers. My mother will make water stand in a soup and call it broth." Amma slid out the ledger of time and wrote Zainab, 10 hours, teach car basics for girls on Saturday. "We will pay you from fees and rainy pot," she said. "Bring spanners, we will provide girls and questions. After class, you eat fish with me." Zainab nodded like a boat finally finding its thread. She left with a smile that used to live on her mother's face. By noon, the power authority remembered the city, and the fridge sighed back into usefulness. Kojo rose to go. Amma stopped him with a receipt. It read, "Thank you for repairs for the check. Conditions. 1. No names on walls. Put names in wages. 2. No hunger on Thursdays. 3. The day we turn away, a thin purse, take back your money and add a lecture. Signed, Palm and Pepper." Kojo laughed. The free kind that leaps a fence it did not know was locked. He signed under the conditions. Money prefers to be obeyed. Today, Money agreed to be disciplined. He left to arrange solar, code, and courses. Ama returned to bowls that confessed before spoons accused. That evening, Makola held a small forum in the chop bar. Traders Night School. The topic, pricing without shame. On the chalkboard, Ama wrote 3 sentences. 1. Your price is your rent, talking to your skill. Let them agree. 2. Discount is not apology, it is strategy. Announce it like festival, not penance. 3. If a friend asks for friend price, answer, "Friend, help me stay open." Yaw, the debater, practiced haggling like mock trial. Auntie Easy taught the 2 seedy pause. Wait, look at the window, breathe. Repeat your price with a grandmother's patience. Zainab explained the value of grease in shoes and in budgeting. Kojo in a corner took notes like a man discovering a continent drawn on a napkin. "Banker Osei," Amma called. "Teach us interest without using words that scare turkeys." He stood, stripped his tie of pride, drew circles for money tomorrow and hot water today, and the room paid him in laughter and a bowl to take to his wife. By midnight, the shop closed with a ritual of floor swept, pot thanked, hubcap tapped. The wall of names wore new chalk like jewelry. The rainy pot wore new coins like a choir that had discovered harmony. Kojo walked home with a list in his pocket and a different shape in his chest. It felt like hunger for work that does not appear in earnings calls. He looked up at the billboard selling trust and shook his head like a man who has tasted stew and wonders why some people eat posters. A tale, a tale. Let it be told. 2 weeks later, the city announced Open Pots Day. Lanes closed not to cars, but to loneliness. Stalls spilled into the street, palm and pepper front and center, a canvas canopy shading beans, fish, yam, and a pot of light soup steaming confessions. The hubcap drum was taken down from the doorway and hung on a pole where it could clear its throat on correct behavior. Kojo arrived with a box he carried himself, a habit his assistants thought beneath him and his father would have called therapy. Inside, solar lanterns, a small freezer that owes nothing to the grid, and a toolkit labeled Hands Before Headlines. Zainab rolled in a trolley with spanners and a hand-painted sign. Girls and gears, ask me anything. The debaters performed a skit titled The Price of Shame. Laughter paid tuition. Auntie Adjo ran the beans table like a customs officer who knows which goods must pass without tax. Widows, students, men who blew their last CD on Pride and returned it at the door. At noon, Kojo stepped forward when Amma nodded. Her nod, his step. He reached into his pocket and pulled out an identity his flat shirt had hidden. He spoke into a cheap microphone that made humility sound taller. My name is Kojo Sarpong, he said. Heads turned away, goats turn when you say leaf. Phones rose, not as weapons, as witnesses. I came here to buy calm and discovered I must practice it. I brought money. Amma brought order. Money without order is rain on an upturned calabash. It looks like effort, but nothing stays. A murmur traveled. Wonder, skepticism. Those two neighbors who only fight when people clap. Kojo continued. I will fund code that stays. Light that ignores manifestos. Training that multiplies hands. And a listening room for storms that don't check weather. But I will not put my name on walls. It will live where wages live and where receipts prove whether we behaved. He lifted a carved board made by Amma Dady. Deep cut, varnished honest, it read, Contract of mouths with 3 clauses below. 1. No Thursday hunger. 2. No thin purse turned away. 3. No help without hearing first. Underneath, space for signatures. Amma signed with a pen attached to a spoon handle. The palm and pepper has a sense of humor that does not give refunds. Kojo signed with the same seriousness he used for ships. Auntie Adjo printed her name slowly, like a child writing a love letter to Bins. Zainab signed with grease under her nails because life does not always wash before ceremony. Y'all signed for the students who will one day feed us back. Banker Osei signed for the math to behave without losing its kindness. A man in a suit, municipal director, arrived with a smile that had learned caution. We celebrate philanthropy, he declared into a microphone that wanted to be a trumpet. We will honor Mr. Sarpong with a plaque and a permit for the listening room that does not expire at noon on a Friday, Amma interrupted sweetly. The crowd laughed. The director found the pocket that holds humility in public men and fished out a sentence. Granted, he said. Also, we will post the city's no harass directive for pay what you can days. It is a rare day when policy eats with the people without asking for a photo first. The hubcap approved with 2 taps. Afternoon invited a test. A man with a face like a roadmap of second chances, Kwabena, recently home from a place with bars, approached the table. His palms shook. His eyes counted exits. Auntie, he murmured, beans for free? Alma did not audition for Angel. She performed system. Thursday rules every day if hunger is punctual, she said. She placed a bowl and wrote on the wall of names. Kwabena, 1 bowl. Helped Zainab carry gear after eating. He ate like a man receiving his first good sentence in years. After, he lifted the trolley with a gratitude that made strength look like language. Then weather arrived in politics. Wind flipped a tent. Rain bullied the pots. A careless pickup nudged the crowd's patience. Disorder knocked. The market answered with choreography. Boundary, rope lines held by children taught to hold knots. Order bowls moved inside. Listening room doubled as dry room. Release. When the rain ran out of speeches, the sun returned without apology, and the stew forgave without record. The hubcap drum coughed twice. Manners resumed. When the sun learned to lean, Kojo stood with Amma beside the new bench. He tapped the carved words with 1 fingertip. I thought money was a key, he said. You have taught me it is a weight. Keys open, weight steady. I will carry this kind. Money is a servant that hears only simple verbs, Amma replied. Cool, light, train, repair, listen. It misbehaves when you ask it to heal or love. He nodded, and then, because the day had been building toward a small ceremony that refuses brass bands, Kojo removed his cap. He had worn one today because rain loves heads, and raised his right hand in a civic salute, palm open, fingers unarmed, facing Amma. "Madam Amma Serwa," he said, voice cleaned of performance. "I came to buy what cannot be bought. You showed me how to build it instead. I salute your real rank, keeper of the pot and the promise." Phones rose, not weapons, witnesses. Someone miscaptioned the scene online. Billionaire makes Waitress rich. The city corrected. Community makes Billionaire useful. Night arranged itself gently. Lanterns hummed. The listening room had its first guest, a mother whose son believed silence was how men count. She cried into a bowl of light soup. The wall listened without charging consultation fees. Zainab taught until Spanners yawned. Yaw drafted a debate on what money can't, and decided to lose on purpose so the question would keep walking. At closing, Amma wrote 3 new proverbs on the chalkboard. A full purse without neighbors is a bucket with holes. A promise kept in small bowls feeds longer than a pledge in large fonts. When you cannot pay with money, pay with returning. Kojo took a rag, wiped the table without applause, and smiled when no one saw. Wealth had finally bought him something valuable, a routine. He left an envelope only for repairs as before, and a folded sheet with orders for freezers, panels, training stipends, and a line that read, "No branding. If my name appears, let it be as a line in the ledger of time." Auntie Adjo tapped the hubcap once more. "Sleep well," and somebody in the back began a song that markets know but cannot translate. It sounded like home eating. A tale, let it be told. The telling is finished. The returning will continue the work.